So you're making a move out of government, education, nonprofit work, public health, the military, or another public sector job and into the private sector. You already knew networking helps. You've done it before. But this time it feels different. It feels a little salesy, and you do not want that. Here's the truth. Your experience isn't the problem. Your experience has real value. The problem is that private sector recruiters often don't speak your language yet. Your job titles, your agency structure, your acronyms, none of that means much to them unless you translate it for them. Welcome back to HR by Nnamtique and the Public to Private Career Pivot Corner. I'm Cynthia, and today isn't just about theory. We're doing a real walkthrough, step by step, so stick with me. Let's use one example the whole way through, like a city manager who wants to move into project coordination, maybe in real estate development or infrastructure consulting. We're going to take their public sector language and turn it into something a private sector recruiter instantly understands. And the reason why this translation matters is because public sector jobs carry a lot of real responsibilities. You might manage programs, serve your community, coordinate vendors, track budgets, handle compliance, lead a team, or solve problems every single day. But the words we use for that work are often built for insiders. Department names, policy codes, program titles, acronyms that make the total sense inside your building and mean nothing outside of it. So, if a recruiter doesn't understand your words, they can't see your value. It's just that simple. So, the goal here is not to erase where you came from. You're not pretending to be someone else. The goal is to help a private sector reader understand how your experience connects to what they need. And for that, you must know your target role first. Because before you can translate anything, you need what? A target. You can't translate into the air. You need to know who is reading this. So, aiming for operations roles, talk about workflow, service delivery, process improvement, and getting things done on time and on budget. Aiming for compliance roles, talk about risk, documentation, audits, and fixing problems before they become bigger problems. Aiming for project roles, talk about timelines, deliverables, working across teams, and tracking issues until they're solved. Because networking without Salesy starts here with a role in mind. And once you know who's listening, the right words get a lot easier to find. So let's look at a weak ask versus a strong ask. And this is gonna be a real before and after. So let's consider this weak version. I'm looking for a job. Do you know anyone hiring? That's what people normally say when they are in a job search or about to start a job search. Now, that might be true that you're looking for a job and you want to find out if that person knows anyone who's hiring. But the statement is flat. It doesn't show what you actually did. It doesn't connect to a real business problem. Now, a strong version would sound something like this. I'm exploring private sector project coordination roles connected to planning, operations, and working with different teams. Could I ask you three quick questions about how your company evaluates that type of background? So, I know you have to agree that the strong version works because it's specific. It shows direction and it gives the other person something easy to say yes to. So here's a rule to remember. Don't ask, what did I do at my old job? Ask instead, what problem did I actually help solve? And why would a private sector employer care about that? So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself to make sure that your bullet points on your resume and in your LinkedIn profile actually speak private sector business language with outcomes which translate to value. So let's look at a 5-step translation walkthrough. This is the process, step by step. So pay close attention. In step 1, you're going to write down the public sector version exactly as it sounds right now. Don't judge it, just get it on paper. Then, for step 2, you're going to underline anything that sounds too internal, like agency names, program titles, form numbers, committee names, or phrases that only make sense inside your organization. Name the real business function behind the work. Was it operations, compliance, budget tracking, vendor coordination, customer support, or training? Name the private sector value in step 4. Did it save time, reduce risk, improve quality, support better decisions? Or in step 5, rewrite the whole thing in plain or and in step 5, rewrite the whole thing in plain business language. I know this can feel uncomfortable at first, like you're bragging. You're not. You're just being clear. So, we're going to check out 5 different careers as real examples so that we can bring this home and make it more achievable in your mind, in your thought process. So, we're going to run through some quick examples. And the first one is a budget analyst. And that budget analyst becomes financial planning, cost tracking, and reporting to leadership. Okay. A transportation coordinator becomes logistics, scheduling, vendor communication, and service reliability. Now, a case management supervisor becomes customer operations, service quality, and team coaching, while a tech support specialist becomes end user support, issue resolution, and process improvement. And last but not least, a training coordinator becomes learning operations, facilitation, and stakeholder communication. Notice, nobody had to hide where they came from. The work is still real. We just used words that travel outside of your current building. So, now let's talk about what to leave out because there are some things that we need to leave out. So just accept the fact that we're going to have to cut some fluff. Cut acronyms unless they're widely known in your target industry. Cut committee names unless the committee proves leadership or stakeholder management. Cut your internal job grade or classification. Private employers care much more about your scope and results than they do your pay, grade, and title. Cut bullet points that only list duties. Replace them with actions and outcomes. And cut long explanations. You don't have to explain the whole public sector system. You just need to show how your work connects to their role. So, your homework for this week is for you to complete a task. And after you complete this task, I want you to send me a comment and let me know how things went and if you have any additional questions about the process. So, what you're going to do first is pick one private sector job posting, save it or print it. Pick 3 bullets from your current resume or LinkedIn. And for each bullet point, ask, what's the business function? What's the transferable skill that I used when I performed this particular duty? Which result, was it risk or scale, does this particular bullet point show? What words would a private sector recruiter understand right away about this particular duty? Then rewrite each one of those bullets after you answer every one of these questions. Don't try to fix your whole resume today. Start with 3 lines. You hear me? 3. That's manageable. 3 strong lines can completely change how you see your own experience. And if it changes how you see your own experience for the better, think of the positive impact it'll have with a potential new employer. So now I want you to build your 2 column translation sheet. We're going to make it even more hands-on by doing this. So grab a sheet of paper and split it into 2 columns. Just draw a line down the middle. For the left column, you're going to write the public sector wording exactly as it is now. And that's what you were doing in the previous area, in the previous exercise for homework. So we're going to actually physically put this into practice. Write the title, the bullet point, the project, or the story you tell in an interview. Don't clean it up yet. In the right column, write the private sector meaning. Start with the business function that this particular bullet point addressed. Was it operations, customer service, compliance, reporting, budgeting, logistics, or training? Then add the value. Did it reduce confusion, speed up a process, protect resources, or support a better decision? Now, say it in plain language. Picture a recruiter who has never worked in your agency, your school system, your military unit, or public authority. What would they need to know to understand why this matters? Here's a simple sentence starter you can reuse. I helped X type of team or organization improve Y type of business function by doing Z, which is your action that you took, which supported what result or how did they benefit from your actions. And that gives you the formula, the only formula that you need to show impact, scope, and value. That 1 sentence structure works for a budget analyst, a court services coordinator, a public health specialist, a transportation scheduler, or a training lead. The details change, but the structure stays useful. Your first draft might sound a little or feel a little awkward. That's completely normal. Translation is a skill and it gets easier every time you practice it. So, one more thing I want you to remember, the private sector isn't one single world. It's made up of startups, hospital systems, banks, consulting firms, and all other types of businesses, and they all speak slightly differently. Study the role in front of you and translate toward that specific audience. And it would be really helpful if the role that you use as an example in your homework exercise and the other tasks that I asked you to complete here, if it was really a role that you plan to apply to, because once you make these changes in your job search assets, tailoring them to this particular role, you're going to be that much closer to being able to apply for the role. And that should make you feel good because that means you'll be making some serious progress. So remember that you need to know how to express or exude and exhibit confidence without over explaining. So this is something I see a lot. Public sector professionals, they over explain often because they're trying to prove the work that they did was complicated. But long explanations can actually weaken your message. Lead with value first, add detail only if it helps. So instead of walking through every policy, committee, and approval step, start with the outcome. Improve reporting accuracy, coordinated a high volume process, reduced a backlog, or led a change that stuck. See, that's starting with the value first. Once the reader sees the value, the details finally have somewhere that they can land. So now, if you want support in this, putting this into practice, try the HRBN job search system and tracker or the public to private sector career pivot coach. I'll link them both in the description or the pinned comments, and they're both built to help you compare your experience to the private sector role you actually want. And if you're ready for a deeper dive with one on one guidance, public to private career transitions is built specifically to help public sector professionals translate their experience, target stronger roles, and move forward with a real plan. Now, before you go, though, tell me in the comments what's the hardest part to translate from your public sector experience? Your title? Your accomplishment? Are they your metrics? Or your interview stories or your salary expectations? Your experience isn't too public sector. It just needs to be translated into the language of the opportunity you want next. So, do me a favor. If you got value from this content, give me a like. Also, share it with your network because I'm sure you know of other people who are on the journey of living their best career life, and that's my goal to help you achieve that. Then, also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you will be amongst the first to know when I drop new content. Because I would love to have you to be a member of the Nnamtique fold. Also, in addition to finding the links to the tools in the pinned comments or the description, also keep an eye on the descriptions of all of my videos for registration links to my free workshop that I hold. So I look forward to seeing you the next time. Until next time, though, career success to you. Go get your new job. Bye bye.